Now, back to your major, and now you're not playing football.
Oh,
and now you're sitting there in college.
Yep.
You're studying new media, which no one knows anything about.
I didn't even know anything about it.
And
we actually hired the professors, my class.
Really?
We had a committee of students, and we hired the freaking professors.
And so then you're learning how to do what? Build websites?
Yeah.
Stuff like this?
You're learning things like, it's when all like the first software hit, you had like this Maya, and you could do 3D animation. They built like, I don't know, Toy Story and Maya or something.
Yeah.
You had like Flash, Macromedia. Remember the Flash websites, all the animation?
Yeah.
Stuff like that. So I learned about that.
So how did you make the jump from that to going into business in that arena?
I was good at it, and I was passionate about it. And what happened is my sophomore year, after I got done playing football, I went right to a marketing agency, sold myself on the spot, and got hired on the spot. And I became their lead web developer.
And you're like 19?
I was 19 with blonde hair.
Nice.
Yep. They were like, who is this kid?
For the record, when I was 19, I had blonde hair too.
No kidding.
Yeah, coincidentally.
Yeah,
a lot of
awesome.
similarities.
That's cool.
Well, a lot of Hawaiians have blonde hair. So
Yeah.
So 19 with blonde hair. Yeah, man. I walked in and I just sold myself.
okay, so then how did that morph into your own business?
Yeah. So I worked
Because
at
you're in a
that
cush job, I take it, if you're the lead at 19 years old.
cush job at $200 a week, buddy.
Raking. Which
I needed
was
to-
pretty legit for you though, right?
Yeah, because it was either that or the YMCA.
Yeah.
You know, and I did work at the Y. But yeah, I mean, it was. I cut my teeth at this ad agency where I learned from this really good graphic designer, Brad, who started his career doing paste up. So paste up is like when you're designing an ad, you actually have to take an exact. So all the little tools you use when you're in like Photoshop and other programs, those are real tools, real life tools. So he'd take like the knife and he'd cut around the picture and then he'd put that and then like the typography. So I cut my teeth under a real designer. Not many people get that anymore. So I learned from a master of design. And
How long did you stay at that agency
I think
for?
I was there till I was 19, 20, 21, 3 years, I think. And then I moved back and I started my own company here.
And that was just inspirado? What made you say, you know what? Because you must have seen a pathway at the agency to take over, or not even take over, but just to move up the chain of command and get paid more than $200 a week and all that.
I did.
What in your brain clicked where you're like, you know what? I'm not working for the man.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's
I'll tell
it.
you that. I got to go
That's it.
back to give you that, though. Raking blueberries and throwing hay. Manual labor. Throw hay for a day and get a $10 bill. You're going to work very hard not to do that. Raking blueberries in Maine, which is a staple of us Mainers. That's tough work. You're bent over in the sun in the blueberry fields. And guess what you do for your first week? You earn your rake.
So what does that mean? There's a different job that's
They
worse,
give you
like
the rake,
picking or
and
something?
you've got to buy. You've got to buy the rake.
buy
Oh,
the
right. So
rake.
you're in debt.
You're
When
in
start
debt.
off,
You
you're
start.
in
They
debt.
give you the rake, and you have to work it off. How much you think that rake cost them? I'm doing the math. I'm like,
with
I
every
like
rake.
this.
It tells me
It's like this is tough, but I like it. So when I walked into my interview at this marketing agency, this kind of a pompous, kid, he said, "What do you want to do long term, Mark?" I said, "Start my own business. I'm going to own my own business." He goes, "You don't want to do that. You do not want to own your own business. You don't know what it takes to survive in a world of business." And I said, "Okay." Proceed. Then I learned and sucked the knowledge I could, all the knowledge I could. I just sucked it and sucked it and sucked it. And then I moved home and started.
And what city was that in?
I started the business out of my college apartment. It was about as big as this table. I was the man, though. I had a Mac, the black one, Wall Street. Remember that one?
There was a
Black
Mac
Wall Street.
called Wall Street?
It had like it was black and it had like rubber on the sides. You know what I mean?
So you were the man.
Yeah.
that you had.
And I think that thing caused me some issues because it was very tough to have kids. I sat that thing on my lap for hours on end. And I'm telling you, something with radiation, man, I had to practice a lot to have kids. Practice was good, but it got a little tough when it's like, we can't have kids.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, man, I started the business out of my college apartment, my first Insight New Media Marketing Agency, a new media company, and just started hammering. And I was fearless going after accounts and clients, and 2 years later, I find myself in Park City, Utah, sitting in the front of the president of Rosignol Quicksilver, selling him an idea like Bill Gates that didn't exist yet, and telling him what I could do. And then they gave me the money to do it. And then we did it. And the rest is history.
So everything,
until the recession.
So everything was rocking. And so you were in your college apartment, but then where'd you end up?
I ended up here in my hometown.
And you had space? You got an office and a whole 9 yards?
Yeah, well, I started in a barn, and it was me and another guy, my first hire. And then we moved into kind of like a double wide trailer house. We call it a double wide.
Did it have a skirt?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay, you're good then.
Fucking right, dude. Vinyl skirt? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Who doesn't have a vinyl skirt?
Got to keep it real.
So we went there, and then we moved into a basement in town.
This is like the perfect progression, right?
Yeah. And then we hired a few more. And then we moved into a beautiful, we had built out a studio where, man, it was, we actually designed it and built it.
Because you were making legit money now.
We were.
How many employees are we talking about?
I think maybe 7 or something, 10, something like that.
And now you're 22?
Yeah, if that. Yeah, probably 22.
Getting 21, 22 years old.
Yeah.
6 employees.
Yeah.
Custom designed office space.
Man, we did everything. You want to hear something? I don't even know if I should say this. Okay. Are you ready for this? You may have to edit this out. All right. I handled 2 governors' campaigns in Maine, 22 years old. They wanted like the best design, the best marketing, so they came to these youngins. Mm-hmm. And we had this one guy, Les Otten.
Should maybe you not say the name?
It was in national news. It's hard not to. You can cut it out.
Understood.
Really
if it's in
nice
national
guy.
news, then
no, it's national news. Yeah.
Okay.
Really nice guy. Right after Obama's first term, so Les came and he wanted us to handle his campaign, and so he wanted a logo that was circular like Obama's logo, and so I designed myself a circular logo, which green and blue. Very similar feel, not even close to the same, but it was round. And who had done a round logo at that time? Next thing I know, this thing ends up on CNN, all the national news stations, and they have like the 2 logos. They have Obama's logo and Les's logo. I just got a influx of emails and phone calls, people like ripping. Because remember how that first term for Obama, remember how hot that was?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Remember
but why were people negative? They were negative on you?
Because they were like, we ripped it off. And I was like, really?
So it was round.
Don't make a round logo.
Yeah.
Especially after the first Obama pick.
Yeah.
Don't use circles.
Don't use exactly.
That's what
Don't
they're saying.
use circles.
Yeah.
So anyways, it was an interesting time. There's a little bit of stress.
Did he catch heat for it? Obviously, I guess.
Time.
Yeah. Because no one really cared that no one even knew. They're like he wasn't like, oh, my ad agency made it up and I thought it was great.
No, well, he, kind of a little bit he did that, but he had an advisor that said this is the right direction and whatnot. So it was interesting times.
So what was the heat?
Dude, the heat was like national media, like ripping you down, people digging down who designed it, like the company that designed it, and just like tearing you up.
They found your yearbuck picture or whatever.
Dude, like it was bad. It was a strange
idiot that ripped off Obama.
It was like 15 days of like, holy shit. Like, are we gonna survive this as a company? And we did.
Yeah. And so you survived that.
Yeah.
And I guess your lesson is like from that you can survive things. You're gonna like it's interesting. I just caught that you said 15 days.
Yeah.
Because guess what? 15 days, no one cared anymore. Is that
exactly.
pretty much?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see that a lot in the news. People, something will come up. People freak out about something. And I'm like, wait a week. 4 days. No one cares anymore. There's like some other meteor that hit the satellite thing or whatever.
Yeah.
So,
it was interesting. We were young, and naive. I think all entrepreneurs start out naive, honestly.
And from a leadership perspective, you're in a leadership position, right? For the first time.
Yeah.
And you have a team of 6 people, and you're the man.
Yep. And I'm trusting.
Oh, you say that with a little hesitation.
Yeah. I trust that people will do the right thing.
Are the people that are working for you your age, a little younger, just all the same age?
Year or 2 difference.
Okay.
All young.
So now you said recession. What happens there?
Well, we were kind of like booming as a company, building some incredible. We would do interactive touchscreen kiosks and all this really, really cool shit that nobody was doing yet. The recession hit. We lost 65% of our business overnight. I mean, what's the first thing you cut in a recession? Advertising. You're not supposed to. But you do.
It's the wrong move, but it's the move that everyone makes.
Yeah, man. I'd probably make the same move.
Yeah.
Where can we cut cost? Ad spend, right? Stop that. Anyways, the recession hit, and we had built this company from like the ground up, just funneled the money back into the company, build, buy equipment, build this, do all this stuff. I'm like, oh shit. First time I thought about like, these guys bought houses here, have families, are starting families, moved away.
How long had the run been at this point?
This had been...
This is a 5-year run?
That's a good question. When was the recession? 8 or 9? This is 6-7 year run.
Okay.
6-7 year run.
These guys had established their lives.
Themselves.
They established their families up here.
Yes.
You were the form of income. You're how they're paying their mortgage.
Absolutely. And I felt that, I don't know if that's weakness, but I'm sensitive to that, man. If I promise somebody something like, this company is your future, this company is your future, I will stop taking a paycheck, and that's not the right thing to do. You got to always pay yourself, right? I will stop taking a paycheck to make sure you get yours. And that's what I did. And what I also did is I took out a line of credit. And it was the first money I had taken out from the bank ever. And I used that money to keep things going, to try to get through the recession. And I didn't want to lay anybody off. What I had them do was I had them start designing in-house projects.
Because, by the way, the next thing that you do after you cut advertising, the biggest cost to just about any business there is your people. So that's the next thing that gets cut. But you're saying you're not going to do that.
And I'm young.
Yeah.
And learning about business as I go, So, no, I'm not going to do it. No, some of them bought houses and stuff, Like, I'm not taking away their livelihood, I'll find a way to just get through,
right?
And I believe I had the fortitude to get through, but, and there's the but, they didn't. And here's why: because I had them start working on in-house projects, and I was training jiu-jitsu at the time, and so I was going to develop a platform so that an academy could build a website based off of a templated system for their jiu-jitsu school. And it was going to be badass. And we had done this for like Rozignol and Dina Star. We were like one of the first companies to build online tools to build things. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
This is early 2000s.
So when you go on and you look at some product and there's a little customization that can be done to it. You guys did design things to move the mouse around and
there's a bunch of those now. By the way,
there's a bunch of them.
Crazy.
There was none of them.
Okay,
it was zero. And so we started building this thing. And
you're building this thing, but you're not being paid for it yet because eventually you're going to sell it. So you're just, that's what you mean by in-house project.
Exactly.
Got it.
Now, did jiu-jitsu take a little bit more of my time than it should have? Yep.
These things happen.
It happens, man. Yeah.
Did I think about it more than anything else in the world? I did.
And just real quick, how'd you get into jiu-jitsu?
Well, after football, I stopped playing football, and I was like, man, I I need to fight. Like I need to, I always had this desire to fight. Maybe all men have that. I don't know, but I felt like
many
extra, like I need to fight. So I'm like, Taekwondo. So I started fighting in Taekwondo and achieved that in about 2 years. It was like, okay, now what? And then I found jiu-jitsu. And I got choked out by a 150-pound kid, and I was 285 pounds. And I was like,
that's a convincer.
I'm in. Couldn't figure it out. I came at him with every bit of athleticism. The kid choked me out almost cold. I had, what just happened? And I bought into it. So anyways, I was passionate about jiu-jitsu, and I had this perfect plan to build this system, and they started getting salty about it.
Now, is that because they felt like there wasn't income? Is it because they weren't getting paid by the project, getting commission or something like that? What were they getting salty about?
They all got salaries.
So what were they getting salty about?
The fact that they were working on my pet projects. Those words, my pet projects. They were also salty. I had 2 very young kids and my wife in the office, that the kids were in the office, and they were, playing with their stuff and doing what kids do.
Kids.
They're being kids. My company, my office, my kids, okay? They found that a problem. So out of the...
And what was your relationship? Because this I'm just assuming now that you got a bunch of people that are working for you that are around the same age as you.
Yep.
And so I'm guessing that you were kind of broing out with all of them.
We were super bros. Super bros. Super immature.
Super bros. That's
immature,
like a movie.
Immature kids, right? Talented, immature kids. I mean, you're talking about like, hey, let's shut it down and go snowboarding. We got 2 inches of pow pow on Sugarloaf, and we need to hit that. And that's what we do. We just shut it down, grab the snow. Rosignol would send us like $10,000 in product. We just go up. We just rip on the mountain. Hey man, just get the work done. You need to, man, no worries. Just make sure the work's done.
Yep.
Very loose.
Super bros.
Pow pow.
Yes.
Hitting the pow pow. That's what we called it. The powder. So, yeah, man, the relationship was not a boss worker employee relationship. It was a creative. I always wanted we had a foosball table in the like, give me a break. I mean, it's a creative agency.
Yep.
But when shit hits the fan, the fingers go to one person, this guy, right? So, all right, I'm ready to sustain this thing and make it happen. They weren't. So one day I'm in my wife's office and the whole crew gets up and hands me a paper. And it's a thick paper. And they're like, we'll see you on Monday to talk about this. Because they thought they weren't expendable. Okay.
So they're giving you an ultimatum?
Ultimatum. I was like, I turned white for a second. I was like, okay. And they walked out.
Did you anticipate this at all?
No.
Yeah.
No idea. I will never be caught off guard like that again.
Yeah, that one's going to sting. That one's going to leave a mark. This is a mutiny, That's
it's
straight up mutiny.
Straight up mutiny.
Yep.
Okay. My wife is an emotional being. We sat down and we read this paper, and it was a list of demands. A list of demands about profit sharing, how the company was making all this money and it wasn't being filtered down to the employees, and about my kids and how they cannot come into the office anymore because they make noise. A whole list of demands.
They can't concentrate when they're playing foosball.
Yeah. And yeah, amongst other things. Young, stupid kids.
Yeah.
And I was one of them.
Yeah.
Because I was naive. So we started looking at this thing, and I was just like, wow, it's like getting punched in the face. And my wife went zing, and she spun up. And shoo. She's French Canadian, and she's anyway, she spun up. I said, okay.
Does she speak French when she's angry?
No.
Okay.
I wish that would be kind of hot if
That'd
she
be
did.
a bonus program.
I'd be like, babe, can you speak French?
Just make her mad so she could yell at you in French.
Yeah. No. So what we did is we sat there and looked at each other and we're like, what? And I said, do they have any idea we just took out a line of credit to support this place to get through the recession? Do they have any idea we don't have any work? So what do? Recon. We opened up their computers, logged in, and started looking for all the interaction between the staff. And wow, what they thought of me. I was sad. I was like, wow, this is sad. Made me feel like shit.
What'd they think?
I mean, they thought I was like some type of miser, like squirreling away cash and resources. And because I always kept a straight face, a happy personality, and they had no idea how much in the hole we were.
Yeah. And I can imagine that you're trying to actually protect them from the stress of business.
Yes.
And in doing that, you didn't communicate to them what was actually happening, which meant that they created what was happening in their own minds, which was obviously wrong.
That shit. Them creating what they think reality is in their minds when they don't know all the facts.
There's so many times in business when I talk to businesses and businesses are going through transitions or there's something happening and they'll be asking like, well, do you think we should tell the employees what's happening?
Right.
And I'm like, well, you have two choices. You can tell them what's happening, or they're going to make up a story. They're going to make up a story, and it's not going to be good. Yep. They're going to think worst case scenario. And so the open communications that is how you prevent this kind of thing.
Yep.
And obviously, you're 22 years old. That's pretty awesome that you were in the position you were in. And obviously, you can look back now, and it's pretty simple to see what the solutions were. One of them, you were broing out with these guys too much, and this is a fine line. Because, in a SEAL platoon, I had bros, lifetime brothers that were, 3 or 4 ranks below me, but they were professional and they understood the line between and they understood and they respected the position. And then there's other guys that were, that same rank, lower rank that I couldn't give that kind of closeness to. And so that's one of those things that, we talk about a lot with companies is it's different for the different people in your company.
Right.
So I'm not saying you can't bro out with people. And also that doesn't mean you don't have awesome relationships with your people, because that's what you want. You want to have awesome relationships with the people that are working for you, because they're going to do that much more for you and you can do that much more for them. And it becomes a functional winning team because everyone cares about each other.
Exactly.
There's a dichotomy there.
There is. There's a line.
Are we super bros?
What is that line? What is that line?
And that line is the thing that you need to figure out. And what makes it really hard with the relationship piece is that it's different for different people. Yeah. And I had some guys that was an E5 in a SEAL platoon, and I was the lieutenant, and they were my total bros. And there's another guy that's an E5, and I got to keep a little bit of distance just so they make sure that they stay professional.
Right.
And so this is challenging stuff and great lessons learned for anyone running a business, especially young people. But it's not just young people, because I see seasoned CEOs asking these same questions.
You don't learn this shit in college. I'm sorry. Like being an entrepreneur, businessman or woman, whatever, it's learned. You may have a gift of something, or accounting, you maybe a good salesperson or good at marketing or something. Nobody's born with a gift of being an entrepreneur. It's built, it's crafted over time, and you have to fail and fall flat on your face and get punched in the face to figure it out. Yeah. So,
but what's good is, unfortunately, there's those lessons that your parents tried to teach you, but you didn't listen to, and they go, "Man, I was so stupid." If you're even aware of them, and that's what's good about someone that's hearing what you're saying right now. They might not recognize it before. Right. And this is a chapter in extreme ownership, right? Dichotomy of leadership. And you can't be so close to your people that one's more important. We go through this.
Right.
But the awareness of it gives people a percentage chance of maybe instead of falling flat on their face, maybe they just stumble and they're able to recover.
Right.
So this is, classic.
I fell flat.
Yes.
Dude, it hurt too.
Okay, so what happens?
So I was sad, man, at first. Then I got angry. And then I got even. No, no. Basically what it was is we are not expendable. Heed these words and these demands, and we'll talk to you Monday morning. Okay. So what happens? We do a little recon, get into the computers, see the communication between all of them, what they thought about me, what they thought about my wife, what they thought was going on with the company. Half an hour later, I'm in my vehicle, divide and conquer. You're not going to tell me, because in that paper it said, do not come and see us individually. Do not seek us out. Do not try to separate one of us and have a conversation. And that's exactly what I did.
By the way, from the employee standpoint, this is a horrible move. They are making as bad of a mistake as you were making as a leader, because what they should have, any one of them could have done is said, Pete, bro, I got to talk to you, man. Let me tell you what's going on.
Yeah.
This is what we're thinking. We don't know what's going on with the company. You got us working on these random projects that are like your projects. We should be working for other companies.
Yep.
Can you tell us what in God's name is going on so we can move forward? That's what one of those
Nobody
people
was that mature.
And you could have brought them into a room and said, hey, guys, I apologize for not telling you, but let me tell you what income we have in the next 6 months. Nothing. So this is what we're going to do to try and survive. You could have given them the plan. They would understand why you were doing what you're doing, and it would have been good. So both sides of the chain of command there are actually making grievous mistakes.
Bad mistakes. And I learned from that was, I mean, I'm a transparent person as it is. You can ask me anything you want, and I will answer it. I was just a dumb kid, though. I didn't want to show weakness to them, is what I was thinking.
Right.
Because I didn't want them to feel like they needed to go find another job. I didn't want them to think that, start talking like, oh, the company's going to shut down. I was making my own stories. Right. I didn't trust they would make the right decision if I told them this. Yep. So I just carried on to try to push through. And you're right, it was a mistake to not share it with them, because it would have been, we were bleeding as a company, but they were the blood I was trying to keep in. It would have been easier just to let them decide what they wanted to do after, in hindsight, telling them where we were as a company, how the recession had affected us. But I didn't.
Yeah.
And so I divided and conquered. And
meaning
I got in my vehicle, drive to the first one's house, knock on the door. John, we're going to talk or you have no job. John's still with me right now. He works for Origin. Sweet. I was pissed. I was so pissed. I was crying a little bit. I was pissed. Have you ever been so pissed, like you're just like, you cried?
Yes.
Negative. Okay. Next question.
Really?
I don't.
Not even when you were a kid.
No, being,
I mean, I'm a kid.
Oh, I guess.
I'm talking about like being a kid.
7.
I'm talking like 20. What am I? 23, 24, something like that.
Yeah,
pissed.
I was in the teams at that point. We're not crying.
Okay,
it's not happening.
This is one tough dude.
Whatever, bro.
Yeah. Echo, I'm having a conversation with you.
I know.
Have you ever been so pissed?
I'm relating 100%.
Have you been so pissed you like started crying?
Hey, honestly, crying is not like, anger does not lead to tears for me.
Crying is weakness leaving the body.
No, seriously. Like I if something is sad, okay, I get it. But being angry, that's okay. But everyone's a little different.
I was a kid.
Yeah. No,
I was a kid.
You're correct.
I was a kid.
Yeah. Jocko, he
Dude, remember, I didn't have a mentor either. Like when I was a kid, I had one mentor, my friend, my buddy's father, because it was a single mom who was. Yeah, as kids, a lot of the time we raised ourselves. I didn't have a mentor. I didn't have like a father figure around all the time to see how to. So I worked off of pure drive and emotion.
Yeah. And again, I'm not trying to be a jerk.
No,
I'm having fun with it.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
But so you're so pissed.
So pissed
that you've got freaking tears in your eyes.
Yeah.
And you go to John.
I'm like, you want this job or not? Because if you say no, you're not talking to me, you do not have a job, and you've got a new house.
Okay, so
he's in the car.
Okay. One down.
One
One in the game. Still in the game. Got it.
As I drove to the others' houses, they either didn't answer the door and hid, or answered the door and said, I can't talk to you, and closed it. Okay.
These are kids. You know, like that's what
kids.
A kid does.
These are kids, man.
Which is a message to everybody.
Yeah.
When you don't want to talk to somebody, you're not solving anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying that there's sometimes where I'm so mad at you that I'm like, Pete, come back tomorrow, bro, because right now it ain't gonna go good.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm so mad I could cry.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
That sounds really sensitive, man. Would you actually do that? That is weak.
But that is that the point is though, seriously, if there's a problem and you're not going to talk about it, you're going to sound like that kid right there that answers the door. I can't talk to you right now. And shuts the door. That's not a way to get anything solved. Are there times where you need a little bit of distance?
Yeah,
because people are hot-headed. Yes, that happens.
As long as you know you both know that it's solvable. You know, like I feel like with respect to business and stuff, like if you're working with a client, you may like bang heads with a client. Mm-hmm. And be like, all right, listen, we need to shut this down and discuss it like in 48 hours. That's learned over time, not when you're a kid. You just want to get after freak out.
Even your approach was super hardcore. And this is, again, you know, people.
A little bit aggressive.
Yeah, people want to hear me say like, that's right. You go in there and you say, you either talk to me now or you don't have a job.
Yeah. I was already bleeding though, so was that the right choice?
I don't know, but the approach for me would be like, hey, let me explain to you what's going on, and then you can think more about your decision, because right now I'm telling you what you've decided and what you've presented to me is so far off base that if this is what you want to make your decision based on, I'm telling you what I'm going to have to do is let you go. Because I haven't told you yet, but we don't have any money, and I'm paying you out of my own pocket.
Right.
So if you don't like that, and you don't want me to pay you out of my own pocket anymore, I'm actually good with that. But if you want to have a job and you want to try and make this thing work, let's have a conversation.
And that's close to exactly what I would say now.
Yeah, exactly.
100%.
Exactly. The reason I'm making this point is because I had a guy hit me up on social media the other day.
Yeah.
He asked a legit question, and he prefaced the question. He says, I'm a very direct guy like you, meaning he's direct like me.
Okay.
And he says, and I give feedback and it makes people mad and rubs them the wrong way. And I'm just, I wrote back, I go, look, man, I'm direct on Twitter, which is 140 characters. And I'm answering 720 questions in, rapid fire. And so, I'm direct when someone says, what is your average daily diet consist of? Steak. Next question. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But you're direct. You're not an asshole.
Yeah. But it's also like I'm having fun. Like that's the fun part of, interacting with people through social media. That's not how I'm treating another human being face to face in a real relationship when we're trying to build something. Then I'm using tact. I'm using maneuvering. I'm manipulating the situation. I'm setting things up. I'm being the most tactful person. In fact, not only am I not going to rub them the wrong way, I'm going to rub them in a very nice way so they feel good about the conversation that we had.
Disarm them and have a real conversation.
The point is that, you're like you said, what my little quote is what you would say. Now, back then, you're young, you're bleeding.
I'm bleeding.
You're pissed off.
Yeah.
And you say,
got a wife nagging at me about finances.
Yeah.
You know how that all builds. 2 young kids, don't sleep through the night. It gets tricky, and you're trying to maintain this.
So just FYI, that what you just said, you just said you know how it is. And to be honest with you, I don't know how that is, because I was in the military. I got a paycheck every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I had kids. I had health insurance taken care of. I had a house taken care of. It's a huge. It's actually a feeling I don't know. Mm-hmm. So I don't know that feeling. I can only imagine. I can only imagine what I would be thinking if I was in your shoes at 22 years old with a wife, 2 screaming kids, and I don't have any money. So check.
Okay. And
get some.
I will tell you about that feeling. It's a feeling I'm never going to go back to. As I divided and conquered, it did not go my way. So,
meaning that the people were saying
they can't talk, or they hid.
They can't talk to you.
They left their house, their homes, whatever. So I made a decision what to do. when I talked to my wife. She's like, what are we going to do? I said, they all think they're expendable, except they're not. Because there's not a person in this world that is so good they can't be replaced. Right.
You okay? Got it.
Yep.
Got it.
They think they're not expendable. There's not a person in this world that is so good at their job they can't be replaced.
Did you hear that, Echo?
Yes, sir.
Just saying.
Almost none, but yeah, you're right.
There's a lot of talented people in the world. So what did I do? Hefty trash bags.
Get some.
I went up to that studio and I scraped their desks individually into trash bags, and it felt good. I didn't even mean to say that, but it felt good.
Yeah.
I literally just scraped it, tied it up, went to the next one. My wife just pushed it all into the bag.
This is good. Therapy.
Yep.
Yeah.
We dragged all the shit. I didn't care what was in the bag. I don't care what they had on their desks. My property, your shit in the trash bags. Didn't organize nothing, just scraped. Dragged them down the stairs.
Gently? Because I'm getting the feeling this was not a gentle scenario.
Dragged them down the stairs. We were in this like studio, third floor studio that we had built out for us. Beautiful.
Right.
That Monday morning, the art director who I cut my teeth with came down. He lived in Bangor, Maine. We say Bangor. Came down, and we were sitting there, and it was glass, like the glass, and it's like you could see through it being inside, but from the outside you can't. They all got out of the same vehicle, kind of giggling and chuckling, like they own me, they own this company. And they walked in the door, and there we were sitting there with the trash bags. And they went from giddy to guilty to sadness, and their faces turned white. There's your shit. Take it. And that was it. Done.
Mm-hmm.
That was tough. I said few words, but I was not going to be held hostage to this situation. In business, I say you've got like 40 years of being a maker. I did a speech recently at an innovation. I wrote a speech for an innovation expo. 0 to 20 you're learning, 20 to 60 you're doing, and 60 to 80, hopefully you're enjoying the fruits of your labor. Anything good in life takes 10 years. So my first 10 years had passed, but I still had 30 to go. And so I knew I wasn't done, but the pain of the situation and the experience, I grew exponentially overnight. We had salvaged a small part of the company, which was this, we called it webware, right? It was like online software, like everything is now, like the cloud.
Yeah.
But there was no cloud. There was this system. I was able to salvage that because it had like a cool little customer base of some high-end customers, and they paid monthly. It was just like reoccurring payments, right? Just to use it.
Yeah.
And so I found a buyer for it, and the negotiation took a long time. And in that long time, we had no income, no money. And so what did I do? I started selling shit. Dirt bikes, four-wheelers, snowmobiles. Every non-essential item I owned got sold, trying to maintain keeping my home, right, which we had built, my wife and I, in the forest, which was our dream home, just a tiny little 1,500 square foot timber frame. Borrowing money from family and our parents, and them knowing the situation we were in, so them actually just like giving us food or whatever. that whole time I had to maintain like this super composure to try and sell this thing. All this shit happening in the background. And I think it was like 8 months. And I finally sold it. $200,000, I think it was. Which was cheap for what we had built. Mm-hmm. Extremely cheap. But I was in a position where we had nothing left. Had freaking nothing left, you know? It was super, super challenging, and I could have easily turned to substance abuse, which I didn't. I've never been into substances. I could have easily just fell off the deep end and felt like a failure, which I knew I wasn't. My wife wanted me to go find a job. She's like,
"That's what I was about to say.
I can't do this.
Normal. Hey, you go get a 9 to 5."
I can't do this. I can't do this, Pete. I can't do this. During that 8-month stint, you've got to figure something. I said, babe, I will find a way to make this work. And I believe everything happens for a reason. It happened for a reason. And I just kept that in the back of my head. And I pushed and pushed and pushed forward. And it wasn't freaking easy. Like, it was super, super hard, like, on us. But she stood by me. Unwavering. She stood by me. Never once did she want to leave. Did she not believe in me or not trust me, which is what I needed. And like I said earlier about filling the glass back up, it was empty. It was bone friggin' dry. Bone dry. And she just put a little bit back in. And we kept moving and kept chugging.
Now, during that time period where you're looking to sell the old company, mm-hmm. Are you hatching plans, or is you got to be 100% focused on just selling this company?
My creativity dove to the bottom of the ocean. Done. I've never experienced depression, you know, but I get it. I felt a little bit like a failure. But I knew I wasn't. So every time I had a negative thought, I would just push through it. I just pushed through the thought. And what got me through a lot of that was training jiu-jitsu, where I could expel my energy and use my creativity, which I thought I had lost in jiu-jitsu. Mm-hmm. It's a very creative sport, art. And that kind of kept me, I guess it kept those endorphins flowing so I could maintain some stability.
But tactically, your focus is
sell.
It's got to maintain this, make it look good. Let's show them the numbers that are coming in for our few clients and what the projections could be.
Yep.
That's all you're doing.
Yep.
That's all you're doing. And you're thinking when you sell that thing, you're going to have enough and you'll figure it out later, but you're not worried about it right now.
Exactly.
So you make the sale.
I make the sale. For the first year, we get a monthly check. Oh, it's like $5,000 a month or something. Not the full amount, just like $5,000 a month. Mm-hmm.